Hello everybody, my name is Sophie and welcome back to another episode of the Bookhater Club podcast. In today's episode, we will finally be talking about the elephant in the room. It ends with us. Everything from drama to movie review from my side, I will be telling you all about it. I will put timestamps in the description. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat so everybody knows. If you want to hear only my movie thoughts review thingy, or if you want to hear about the drama, I'm gonna kind of try to structure it a little bit. There's a lot we have to talk about. And I've kind of been pushing it off, and thankfully, because one of the people involved has made a statement. And nobody had spoken up about it. Like, not even their PR teams or anything. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna get a statement, but I want to do the video. Otherwise, it's gonna be, not on time. And then somebody made a statement, and I said, thank God. Also, turn the sign on. You're gonna say it is on. The batteries are weak. And I don't have any batteries to change it with. I apologize. So anyway, I saw the movie. I'm gonna give you a little introduction, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you all about the drama. In case you didn't know, there's so much drama going on behind the scenes. And I think... I kind of expected it, I have to say. I don't want to, be on a high horse and be like, ugh, I knew it was gonna be a disaster. It did make a lot of money in the box office. Like, people are seeing the movie, but there's a lot of drama, and I think it's inevitable. And if there's another movie made about a Colleen Hoover book, it's gonna be Verity. She's talked about it. I just read it. I just posted a review on it. It's also going to be disastrous. It's just Colleen Hoover. There's no good vibes attached to that woman. Only evil vibes. So there's a lot of drama regarding the Blake Lively, who plays Lily, the main character, and the director called Justin Baldoni. He played in Jane the Virgin. I didn't watch it, but you might know him from that. And he was the director, and he also acted as Ryle, which is one of the main male characters, the one that's abusive towards Lily, because at the end of the day, as most people know who are in the book sphere, I would say, this book deals with topics of domestic violence, and so that's also what I will be discussing today. Obviously not in detail, but if that's something that's triggering to you, then I suggest you skip out on this one. There's no shame in that. If this is too triggering for you, you can just watch my next video, or my last video, or any other video. And also, before I talk about the drama, I want to thank my members, my book haters. They support my channel by being members. They get my videos a day early. They also get to vote on my next reads. They get exclusive content, such as my movie, oh my god, my Ruby Red movie commentary. Can't speak, I'm so excited to finally get this out of my system, because then I don't have to concern myself with this drama anymore. And they get my eternal peace and love. And it's just a way to support me to buy the books that I read for the channel and everything. So if that's something you're interested in, you can consider becoming a member. And other than that, I think we should just get into it. I'm really trying to just get to the point, because I feel like this is going to be long. And I don't necessarily want it to be that long, But I know me, I'm a yapper. Also, I have to say, I don't know how many clips I can show you. Definitely not of the movie, but also of interviews, because Germany is really strict with their copyright laws. And I don't know if I'm going to get copyright claimed if I show any of the interviews that I'm going to be speaking about. Maybe I can insert them and mute them on screen, and I'll just tell you what's being said. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, because obviously I don't want to get in trouble. But I think that you kind of, for some things, you have to see to understand what I'm talking about. So, let's talk about the tea, the drama. What is with it? It ends with us. It's right here. As I said, I reviewed it. I gave it 1 star. In case you're curious how I thought about the book. I have active beef with Colleen Hoover. It's one-sided. She doesn't know I exist. And she is rather problematic, I would say. We'll talk about it, some of the things that she's tried pulling off with the book and everything, but I did make a whole podcast episode about her in the past. I can link that, where I talked about everything, who she is, what she's done. Again, I've reviewed It Ends With Us, I've reviewed Ugly Love and Verity. I gave them all 1 star, and I don't remember what my review was for this. Doesn't matter, it was really bad. I think that at the time, a lot of people tried to, even still, people try to shame people into not reviewing the book negatively because it deals with domestic violence and abuse. And Colleen Hoover has said that this comes from her own personal experience because her mother experienced domestic violence, which is of course horrible. And she kind of decided to write a book about it and to, how do you say it in English? Verarbeiten. So embarrassing. How do you say it? She kind of tried to deal with it by writing the book, I would say. Like, she tried to go through it, like, to kind of work through it herself by, you know, talking about it in her novel. And so a lot of people will try to tell you, oh, that means you can't review it negatively because it deals with heavy topics, but that's not true. I think that the way Colleen Hoover did it was not how it should be done, and I'm sure that there's other literature out there that deals with it better. I don't specifically seek this kind of literature out. I didn't have to read it, but I just read it because it's Colleen Hoover. And bitches want to know my opinion. And it's not good. And neither is it on the movie. It's not good. But also, before I talk about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and everyone involved, everything I say in this, I have to say it, everything I say in this video is alleged and nothing is fact. It's my own opinion. I just gathered information that's on the internet and I'm portraying it in this video. It's all hearsay. Again, we haven't heard from Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni directly. It's just what people have been, like, watching them do, and everything is alleged. Nothing I state is a fact. I don't want to get in trouble. It ends with us. The book was written and published, or only published, I don't know when it was written, in 2016. And again, it was about Colleen Hoover's mom. Colleen Hoover is a big fan of Blake Lively's, who eventually ended up playing the main character. Before that happened, there was a man called Justin Baldoni, who owns a production company, and he optioned the rights to make the book into a movie in 2019. He contacted Colleen Hoover after reading the book, after loving the book. Okay, couldn't be me. And he basically asked her, can I buy the rights to make a movie out of this? He didn't only buy the rights or acquire the rights for producing and directing the first book or making the first book into a movie, but also the second one that exists. There is a second book, it's called It Starts With Us. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it. I remember it came out just recently, like not that, like a year or two ago. So years after the first one, and that's just because it was like Colleen Hoover was getting through booktok a new resurgence, and a lot of people were reading It Ends With Us, and so they wanted to, she wanted to get like some cash in. Keep that in mind. Like, Colleen Hoover is very much a businesswoman, peace and love. Like, I don't want to accuse her of not caring that much for the topics that she tries to discuss, but maybe I am a little bit. But because people were begging her, they wanted another book about Lily and Atlas, who is the other main male character that she eventually ends up with. She wrote one years later and published it. It's called It Starts With Us, and Justin Baldoni also optioned the rights for that book. So he has the rights to turn both books into a movie. Obviously the first one we have already, the second one we'll talk about it. I actually don't know what happens to the second one. Her and Atlas end up together. Anything else, I don't know. I don't know if anyone here who's watching has read it and wants to share if it's good. I doubt it. We can actually go check what it has on Goodreads as a rating. Or actually I'm curious to see It Ends With Us, how many ratings it has. If it's over 1 million. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my god! I gave It Ends With Us 2 stars. I'll change it right now. Oh my god. Why did I give it 2 stars? Okay, I can tell you why. When I read it at the time, I was one of the people that got scared of people coming for me because it was about Colleen Hoover's own personal story. So I didn't want to give it 1 star because I was like, I don't want to get hated on. But alas, now I changed it. It has 3,700,000 ratings, so it's almost at the 4 million mark. And then It Starts With Us has almost 2 million ratings, but that only has a 3.8 average, and It Ends With Us, I just pulled the average down, but it has a over 4 star, 4.1 actually. So people didn't fuck with It Starts With Us as much as they did with It Ends With Us. Okay, I couldn't leave that 2 stars, I'm sorry. that, like, if I think about all of the other books I've rated 1 star, that would be unfair if I gave It Ends With Us 2 stars. Sorry, bitch. So, as I said, Justin Baldoni acquired these rights in 2019, so that was a while ago. He then proceeds to cast himself. Which, okay, and he decided to cast himself in the role as Ryle. Ryle is the abuser. Why did I say it like that? The abuser in the story. And I remember that when this became public, people were like, why the fuck would you cast yourself as the abuser? Why would you do that? Arguably now, looking more into Justin, it makes a little bit of sense. Not because, well, we don't know, but I don't think he's ever abused anyone. I hope so. But because he's a very self-aware man. We'll talk about it in a second. Colleen Hoover and Justin both decide that they would like to take on Blake for the project. And allegedly, she said she only wanted to do it if she got producer credits. She wanted to be an executive producer on the project, and then she would play the main character. And they agreed. So she is a producer on this movie. And allegedly, the whole drama stems from the fact that as a producer, she tried to do too much. She did too much. They had creative differences, her and Justin Baldoni, who is still the director. I think even if you're a producer, like, the director is still above you. And you as a producer, again, I'm not in the, like, no, not again, I haven't said it yet, but I'm not in the filmmaking industry. I don't know anything specific, but I think the producers are just there to, obviously they can have a say in things, but because they're supposed to, like, make the money for you. they're like sponsoring the project, is what I thought. And we'll keep that in mind that I said that. But basically, the whole drama, the base of the drama is Justin directed the movie, and Blake is a producer, and then Blake wanted to kind of take over the movie with her creative vision, and kind of butted heads with Justin because he wanted to do it differently than her, and now they don't talk. Yeah. Blake Lively, we of course know from Gossip Girl. She played Serena. I never watched Gossip Girl. Quite frankly, I don't think I've ever watched a movie with Blake Lively in it, besides the one where she doesn't age, and it's called something with Adeline, but the reason I watched that is because I watched it on, like, as a clip, or just as clips on TikTok. Like, I didn't watch the movie on the TV, I just watched it on TikTok because people split it up on clips and then posted it. So, even at that time, I was like, I just don't think she can act that well. That's my personal opinion. Like, I don't have any emotional connection to Blake Lively. I would say, like, maybe if I had watched Gossip Girl in my formative years, I would be like, oh, I love Blake Lively because she played one of my favorite characters on screen, but that's not the truth. I've never watched it. And so I have no connection to that woman. I think she plays herself in every role. When I watch her on screen or on TikTok, I don't think that, oh, that's a character. I think, oh, that's Blake Lively. Like, she can't sell it to me, you know, like other actors can't, and that's also we'll talk about, something we'll talk about later. She didn't really play any important roles, I have to say. She's like, I don't know, people always like to put actors into categories like A-list, B-list, C-list, and they would always say she's A-list, but can I say something? Can I speak my truth? I don't think she's A-list. Like, what has she played in that was super popular? Nothing, because she's not that good of an actress, and she plays very similar roles all of the time. She met Ryan Reynolds, her husband, on the set of Green Lantern while he was still married to Scarlett Johansson, which is something I found out through all of this drama. And they separated in 2010, and the same year, him and Blake Lively started dating. But allegedly there was no overlapping, like no cheating or anything, allegedly. But they did meet on set, and then they separated, and then he got with Green Lantern, she got with Green Lantern, because she played in that movie, but allegedly, no, not allegedly, obviously we know that movie flopped. Who the fuck gives a fuck about Green Lantern? I didn't even know she was in that. Maybe I have watched that movie when I was a child, because I used to be really into superheroes, but I don't remember anything about that movie. That was really bad. Why are there so many bad superhero movies? So weird. Anyway, most important fact about this wedding is, or their wedding, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, is they got married on a plantation. And this was one of the facts that I've been knew before this drama even, and maybe that's where my distaste for this woman came from, because I was like, why would you do that? Who in their right mind would think the best place to get married on is a plantation? If you're rich, you can get married anywhere. Go to Greece. For fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Like, why are we doing it on a plantation? People have also said that she used to be allegedly really in the end, how do you say it? I forgot to look it up. I just remembered, I forgot to write it down. Antebellum style? Oh, before the war. Means before the war, but it was widely associated with the US Civil War until after the conflict was over. The word came from the Latin phrase whatever, and it's earliest known, that she was obsessed with that aesthetic for a while, allegedly, like doing photo shoots and stuff in a before the war style, where quite evidently slavery was still a thing, you know what I mean? So people were like, okay, you're into that style, you got married on a plantation, what's the tea here? They have apologized for this. It was a relatively lackluster apology. I don't exactly know if they said they didn't know it was a plantation, but that just doesn't count. What do you mean? You can just Google. I'm pretty sure the place. Why the fuck does a plantation even allow weddings? In the first place? That's so America core. Imagine I got married at a fucking concentration camp. Can we compare that? I don't know if we can compare that. But it's like, no one would do that. So, I don't know, because I've heard a bunch of people, or a bunch of famous people have gotten on plantations, like, okay, pick a different spot. You know what I mean? Okay, let's not get hung up on this. We have more to get to. She also worked on a movie with Woody Allen and has allegedly said in the past that she would let Woody Allen watch his kids. If you don't know who that is, he got married to his stepdaughter after raising her. Then, allegedly, she was also very dismissive during the Me Too movement, allegedly, and spoke up for Harvey Weinstein, allegedly, saying that we should believe in humanity. Or something like that. Okay. Also, she's a Nepo baby. Sorry, I'm listing everything. She's a Nepo baby. Her sister is Robin Lively, and she was a very big star in the 80s. She was in all of the Karate Kids movies, and I think she was also in the... what is the movie called? Something with traveling pants. I'm sorry. That's AmeriCorps. I don't know what that is. And her parents are also both actors. She also has a history of not getting along with the co-stars. While Kate Middleton was disappearing, or, before we found out that she sadly has cancer, she made jokes about Kate Middleton's disappearance during Balenciaga's cancellation because they did a photo shoot and a campaign, more of a campaign, with children that was really distasteful and not ridiculous. What is the right word for it? Like, really disgusting. She still had a cooperation with Balenciaga / was wearing their clothes outside, and I think to a football game that she went to with Taylor Swift. Not the Swifties, stay out of this one. I'm not summoning them. We're not talking about Taylor Swift, we're talking about Blake Lively. And she also kept saying the T word in the past. The T word is the slur for transgender people. And she apparently used that word multiple times in the past in interviews and everything, saying she doesn't hope that her children become T-words and stuff like that. So it was very much in her vocabulary around 2010, 2012-ish. And that is Blake Lively for you guys. Of course, she's also a business owner. She is a wife. She is a mother. She is both strong and she's both weak. Just like her character. She's multifaceted, which she keeps saying about Lily, the main character in the book. So that's also Blake Lively. We'll get to it. But she also has a lot of businesses. I'm pretty sure she also has spoken up for different charity organizations, also regarding women's rights and everything. At the end of the day, that's great. But why are you still doing all of these things that I just listed? Like, what is the truth then? You can't pick and choose. We're not fucking with that. That is Blake Lively, allegedly, everything that people brought up through TikTok. Because, of course, my main information source is TikTok. Isn't yours too? No, I'm not coming for you. But just because this was especially big on TikTok, this whole drama, I would get so many videos back to back to back about the same fucking thing. Now that we've talked about Blake, let's talk about Justin Baldoni. Justin Baldoni, again, the director and the person that plays Ryle, the abuser in the movie. Why am I saying abuser so weirdly? Abuser. Abuser. I have to say it more American. The abuser in the movie. Oh, every time I do an accent like that, recently, a little detour, I watched, or I like watching TK Maxx hauls on TikTok by American ladies that seem to be in severe debt, and they just go to TK Maxx and buy everything, and they buy the ugliest stuff. They buy the ugliest stuff, and then recently I went to TJ Maxx, because in Europe it's called TJ instead of TK, for whatever reason, and I found one of the things that they were talking about, and I told my boyfriend, that was viral on TikTok, and he was like, that is fugly. And it was a pillow of a ghost. I don't know, this is so niche. A fucking ghost pillow. And I remember seeing a TikTok, and she was like, oh my god, guys, I just found the viral no, what'd you say? Oh my god, guys, I just found the viral ghost pillow at TK Maxx. It's so cute, I'm gonna get it. It's so ugly. It doesn't even look like a fucking ghost. It's not even shaped like a ghost. And I was like, I found that in real life. I wanted to get it. My boyfriend said no. But I wanted the viral ghost pillow. It was so ugly, just as a joke, but it's very niche. I think no one would have gotten it. But that's kind of what I think of Americans. Peace and love. Love my American viewers so much, because you always give me so many informations about everything that I don't know about. Can't wait to come over for the first time next year. Oh. Maybe a brand can invite me. I don't really want to pay for the flights, I have to be honest, it's really expensive. But I want to come to New York, and I want to go to the biggest Barnes & Noble in the world and make a meet and greet, and no one's gonna come. That's kind of the plan that I have. Alas, who is Justin Baldoni? Back to the tea. Again, he played in Jane the Virgin. He played Raphael, or something like that. Again, I didn't watch neither Gossip Girl nor Jane the Virgin. And the most notable thing about him, as of recent, that people tried calling him out for, is that he has hired a crisis PR manager who was also working on the Johnny Depp case. They defended Johnny Depp in his case against Amber Heard, which is obviously also a DV case, and people have said, oh, you seem to care for DV, but then you hire a PR manager that has worked with Johnny Depp. I don't think you can compare one or the other. That lady is just doing her job. I don't know if it's a lady or a man, actually. That man is just doing his job. But they are connected to the Johnny Depp case. And that is like the one thing that's most incriminating about him at this point in time. We'll talk about it. There were some more things that came out. He actually, he's married, and he has, I think, 2 daughters. And he also has a podcast called Man Enough, which is like really important. He talks about very deep topics on that podcast. Not that I listen to it, you know, I can't do that shit, I'll start crying. He talks about toxic masculinity and how we should let go of toxic masculinity and everything surrounding that. He's also written 2 books. One is a children's book for specifically for boys about toxic masculinity, and one is for men about toxic masculinity. That seems to be really his thing. Like, he does genuinely seem, and I mean this with peace and love, he does genuinely seem to care about these topics, because these things are the ones that I have found about him, and he has actually never worked with Woody Allen, so, you know. And there was something else, but now I forgot about it. People have been saying, we're just villainizing the woman, we're villainizing Blake Lively, and we're lifting up Justin Baldoni, but subjectively, if you compare how both of these people have gone about the topics in this movie, and it's not just Blake Lively, it's everyone else in the cast, it's also Colleen Hoover, the author herself, it's disappointing to see. And I think Justin is the one who, he is the one who read the book and felt moved by it. Arguably, I think he made some weird comments about it. He said it was sexy and mysterious, and I was like, okay, I don't really know how that connects to anything. That's kind of odd. But he was the one who reached out to Colleen Hoover to produce this movie. Or, I keep saying produce. To direct this movie and to make it into, turn the book into a movie. And he was the, original Kickstarter for it. Because he genuinely seemed to care about the topic. About domestic violence. And I'm sure that he maybe had been wanting to work on I don't want to put ultimatums out there, but I'm thinking that maybe he had been thinking he wanted to bring a story like that to screen, and then it was really easy find a popular book like, or it's easier to find a popular book like Colleen Hoover's and then get people on board for that because they can see that the book is already successful instead of like writing an original story, because that's not really what we're seeing in cinemas right now. Usually the movies that are being made are not original stories. They are franchises that are being continued some way or another, or they're books that are being turned into a movie or some sort of other adaptation. And so Justin, that's all I have to say about him. People have said conflicting things on how he is on set. I've seen, people on TikTok lie. You can't really believe them. Some people have said, oh, I was an extra on the movie and Justin was so nice to us. He came and introduced himself, which is really odd because usually directors don't do that. They don't care about extras, and he was so nice. Some other people were like, he's a fucking bitch. He was horrible behind the scenes. Then when everything started kind of boiling up, the whole drama, people were like, oh, he was abusive himself behind the scenes. And it's like, okay, you're just saying that because this movie is about abuse. Like, we're just kind of coming up with anything at this point. At the end of the day, again, we don't know what the truth is, but those are like the two main parties against each other. It's Justin by himself, and Blake Lively and the entire cast seem also to be on Blake Lively's side. So that's also notable, that he seems to be alone on what he's doing on his quest, and she has like she's backed by everyone else, which could make you think like, okay, maybe he is the problem if everyone's on Blake Lively's side. Again, you can come up with your own mind. I'm biased. Am I? No, I'm not biased, but just from everything I've seen, I think Blake Lively is the one who fucked up. Piece of love. Like, that's my personal opinion. But again, you can make up your own mind. So, that's the background. 30 minutes. I've yapped for 30 minutes about the background. So let's get to the actual drama. Which started during the release week, we could say. But maybe I can give you some more information on the movie before we do that. The movie started filming, obviously a little bit belated after he acquired the rights because of the pandemic. He got the rights in 2019, couldn't start filming because of the pandemic. Post-pandemic, oh my god, I don't know when they started filming. It was either 2022 or 2023 when they started filming. But they were definitely going on with their filming during the writer's strike / that's when filming was already taking place, is what I mean. Because they did have to pause filming because of the writer's strike that was happening. If you remember, that was a really big deal, that all productions were on hold because the writers were protesting for fair pay, which is their right. I'm on the writer's side. So, during this time, there was no production, but I think even I spoke about it in a podcast episode where I was like, oh, we don't know if they're continuing filming, like it's on hold indefinitely. I was kind of hoping it was gonna be just, not continued. Alas, one can hope, one can wish. Didn't happen. They did go through with it. But also, pictures from the set started leaking because they were just filming out in the open. I feel like I saw most of the movie already on TikTok before it even came out, really weirdly, and people were calling him out. They were like, what the fuck is that bitch wearing? We'll talk more about it in the movie section, where I give my movie review. But people were calling them out. And it kind of confuses me because, like, if you already saw this reaction from people online, why didn't you change it? Because genuinely Blake Lively was dressing like a fucking, and I said it in my last podcast episode, like a Shake It Up character. Terribly. But people were well aware of this movie and they were excited for it, to see what they were gonna do with it. Because again, it has a huge fan base. So, when the movie came out, it came out on the 9th of August in America. That was the release for it in America. In Germany, it came out a week later. Yeah, I had to wait another week to see it in cinemas, and I did see it. And I made a really funny TikTok and a really funny Instagram reel that no one watched. Go watch it. I don't know if I can put it on screen because it has music in it. And we'll talk more about why it's funny. I thought it was really funny. You gotta give yourself credit where credit is due. When the movie released, people were obviously curious about the people in the movie, whether they'd known them before or not. So the first thing you look at is Instagram. And this is kind of where this whole, well, how do you express it the best? This whole mess started. But where everyone started getting suspicious. Because on Instagram, Blake Lively does not follow Justin Baldoni, and neither does anyone else. Justin Baldoni does follow Blake Lively. He doesn't, for example, follow the other main male character. The actor's name is Brendan something something. Honestly, I don't fuck with him. We'll get to it. I always say we get to it. I'm gonna check right now, Colleen, if she follows Colleen Hoover. Justin Baldoni doesn't follow Colleen Hoover either. Okay, does Blake Lively follow Colleen Hoover? I mean, you can check that for yourself. Maybe it's gonna change. The question, of course, is yeah, she does. Did they ever follow each other? Oh my god, Colleen Hoover follows Shane Dawson. I mean, I guess that's all you have to know about her. What the fuck is all of this? Okay, give me a second. Does she follow Justin Baldoni? No, only Justin Bieber. So people started noticing this with the entirety of the cast and started pointing it out, and we're like, what's going on? Of course, we live in 2024. People are going to look at this. Obviously, like, everyone looks who follows who, and especially if they follow some people from the cast and everything, it's even more odd. But since Justin seemed to be the odd one out that no one followed, people were assuming automatically he must be the one that fucked something up. What people also started noticing is the fact that he was excluded from interviews. When other cast members were asked about him, they tried to avoid the question. They would never directly address him or say his name. They would try to steer the question into some other direction. And also, they did like group interviews, and he was not included in them. There is no group interview where Justin Baldoni is involved. It's all just interviews of himself. There's also no red carpet pictures where he is involved. It is just him and his wife, or him alone. But he is never pictured with any of the other cast. Now, we could speculate maybe this was their strategy because they didn't want to give the abuser of the movie, that portrayed the abuser in the movie, the platform, and didn't want, I don't know, the attention on him. But at the end of the day, he is still the director. Like, he is the one that made the movie. At the end of the day, he is the director. But because everything seemed like people were turning against Justin and sticking together in a group and like pushing him out of it, people assumed at first that he must be the one that fucked something up. But then everything came differently, obviously. Something else that people noticed is that Blake's Instagram is just self-promotion. She has multiple companies. She has her Betty Boos or whatever, and she has that in her bio. All of her Instagram feed is just self-promotion. She has a new launched hair care brand that just recently came out, that is also all over her Instagram. She was advertising it simultaneously with this movie and also simultaneously with Deadpool and Wolverine, which is her husband's movie that just came out, okay? We're seeing connections. Whereas on Justin's Instagram, people noticed that in his bio, I can read it out verbatim, it says, give me a second, there's so many people involved. It reads, if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, help is available. Visit at nom.org. That's not how you say that. For more information. And then there's a link in his bio for that. He obviously has a lot of It Ends With Us content on his For You page. A lot of it is also just his wife. And he has posts about domestic violence, about how you can seek help. He's like actively promoting you, if you are in such a horrible situation, how you can potentially make your way out. Also here I'm seeing that he did do an interview, or oh no, this is like a promotion he did with Colleen Hoover together. So at one point they did talk, which apparently they're not talking anymore. Right, so this is the background on the release, like what people first started noticing. That for Blake, I mean, let's read out Blake Lively's bio. It says, founder of Betty Buzz and Betty Boos, which I don't know what the difference is between Betty Buzz and Betty Boos, because you could just put that on a one, I feel like. And also, why is it all named after your third child? Like, why are the other two children not getting any brands named after them? She also had a pop-up introducing New York City's latest pop-up, Betty Blooms, inspired by Blake Lively's character in A Dance With Us movie, Lily Blooms. So they had a pop-up. It's all self-promotional. She is a businesswoman first and last. I don't think this woman gives a fuck about anything besides money. Peace and love, that's my opinion. If you go onto her page, it's just pictures of her, and her haircut brand that is honestly, like, I would not buy that because her hair looks like shit most of the time. And it did in the movie too, and I'll talk about it when I talk about the movie. But genuinely, I don't understand why you would buy her hair care. Her secret, she said, is not using conditioner. Baby, we can tell you're not using conditioner. It's frizzy, you know? And so she's not doing a conditioner either. If you're curious, like, wait, I can put it up. I'll show you like this. This is what the hair care products look like. Very inconvenient, in my opinion. Like, the bottle, the packaging is very inconvenient. How the fuck am I supposed to squeeze the product out of that? You know, I know we're trying to do something different. We're trying to do something innovative that has a USP, but at the end of the day, your USP is that you don't have a conditioner. You don't need to be doing more with the packaging. I think the wooden lid would have been enough. From a marketing girly, I do be studying marketing. I'm almost graduate, so don't worry about it. I can tell you a thing or two. No, I can't. But it's just like, just as a user, like, just as someone who uses hair care products, like, I do be using conditioner, you know? Can you tell? Maybe because it's not that frizzy. That happened. So people started, after discovering this, criticizing Blake Lively immediately, clocking her, because it seemed like she was putting herself in the center when she should not be there. She was advertising this movie in interviews that started coming out for the release because it was release week, in a way that kind of struck a nerve with a lot of people. I was looking for the right idiom, because she was putting herself in the center instead of focusing on the fact that this is a story about a domestic violence victim, that maybe we could be talking about other things and talking about, you know, other things in your fucking Betty Boos and fuck ass hair line that no one talks about or no one wants. I've seen good and negative reviews, so I don't really know what the truth is. I think with hair care, you know, it's always like, you gotta try it for yourself, but I wouldn't want to try it. She would say a lot of things in interviews, and maybe you've seen a compilation of her best statements, but I think we should talk about Justin, what he said about the movie first, before we talk about all of the statements that Blake has made, because she can't seem to shut the fuck up. Every interview that you watch where she is in, she is talking. She's a yapper, you know, and I can respect it as a fellow yapper, but she's in an interview with multiple people and she will not let them talk. She will interrupt them. She will not let them talk. I watched one interview where they were like some Good Morning show. They love their Good Morning shows in America. I'm not sure if it was Good Morning America. It was a Good Morning show, and the interviewer specifically had to steer away from Blake Lively because she was like talking and ask Atlas, the actor for Atlas, Brandon is his name. I don't fuck with him. Did I say that already? So he could answer, and then she would still interrupt him, and we'll get to it. Justin, how did he handle this whole press tour? Again, he was never seen with the cast or the author, and he was always by himself. He tried to make sure that people understood that this story was about domestic violence, that this was not some great grand rom-com, which the issue is a lot of people that didn't know about the book and saw Blake Lively's advertising and the trailers thought this was a fucking rom-com. This was a rom-com, a romantic comedy. It is a movie about domestic violence. There's nothing funny about that. Of course it has its banter moments like every movie does, but that is not the core, that's not the story that we're trying to tell. But it came across that way from the marketing. And Justin Baldoni, he always tried to make sure when he was at interviews to make it clear that this is a story about domestic violence and that it is something that should be talked about so people can feel safe talking about it. And he said, he said, wait, what did he say? He tried to make sure people understand that the abusers are charismatic and likable, and that they also don't see themselves as terrible people and as abusers. And this is kind of the core message that he was trying to get across. He wanted to make his character that he plays, Ryle, who is abusive towards Lily, Blake Lively characters, he wanted to make him likable. He wanted to make sure people understood that is why it is hard to leave. People fall in love with a charismatic, lovable person, whether it's a man or a woman, and then the violence and abuse comes later. And that makes it harder to leave, because in between, maybe they're still lovable and they're still nice and they still do things for you. And so you start doubting yourself and you're like, oh, maybe I'm just making this up in my head and it's not as bad as it actually is. But it is bad and you need to leave, but it's not easy to leave. And Justin, from the way he was talking about it, really tried to get that across, or that was what was important to him, at least allegedly from what he was saying, right? Because I can't look into his head. And he talked about it in interviews, he talked about it pre-movie release, that this was what was important to him. And this, I think, is where the main issue comes from, because if you compare this to Blake Lively's approach, she wanted to make it a lovey-dovey romance movie. She did not want to focus on the fact that Lily was getting abused. She wanted it to be part of a story, but she wanted to show that just leave. That was the vibe that I was getting from her. She was like, oh, you're getting abused? Just leave. You're sad? Just be happy. That's the vibe that I was getting personally. That it was for Blake Lively very black and white, the entire situation. She wanted Ryle to be the bad character, the character that was abusing. He was a villain, he was negative, everything about him was bad after he started abusing Lily, because in the beginning he was a nice character. And then Lily just leaves. I have to say, I'm gonna say it now, even if you don't care about the movie review. From what I remember in the movie, in the book, Ryle was also fluffed up way more. Because Lily does get pregnant by Ryle, and then in the movie it's just a montage of her not being with him anymore, like leaving him. It's unclear of where she lives, what she's doing. In the books, that's not the case. As far as I'm concerned, in the books, at least for the end of her pregnancy, she still stays with Ryle. They're still together. And that's another thing where I feel like maybe Peace and Love, Blake and War and Hate, you know, but allegedly Blake Lively was trying to tone it down to truly make it more black and white, the issue of domestic abuse, which it's not. It's not that simple. To make it more palatable for viewers. So they could definitely have a villain. They could say, he's terrible, leave him, Lily is the great character, she's empowered, and that's just not what it is. That's just not what domestic violence is. That's also not how the book is. Not that the book is better. I gave it 1 star. You saw earlier. Not that the book is better, but I think in the book it was definitely better portrayed than in the movie. In the movie they were trying to make it black and white. I think you get it at this point, right? Sometimes I feel like I can't express what I think so well, and I think people might not understand what I'm trying to say, but I hope you do. Basically, Blake Lively, when she was asked about all of this, she would say things like, oh, I love Lily because she is both strong and vulnerable. She is both masculine and feminine. And the question is like, do we care? Like, what? That's not what we want to hear about. Like, she is a survivor of domestic abuse. And you're trying to make it about a women's empowerment story of her just being like, here, just leaving the dude. She just leaves him. The thing is, my issue with It Ends With Us is also that there's a second love interest and he makes it possible for the main character to leave. I think the narrative that Blake Lively wants to push is that Lily could just leave out of her own accord. But for a lot of survivors, that is just not possible. They can't leave. It's impossible for them. And so in the movie and in the book also, there was another character who was Atlas, who made it possible for Lily to leave because he was supporting her. And I think so the narrative that she's trying to push isn't working, because there was literally another character who was like making it possible, another strong big man getting her out of that situation. It was not out of her own accord, out of her own women empowerment that she's trying to push. So what are some other things that Blake Lively said on this press tour that now led to her being like hated on, criticized? I'm sure she's getting hate. I'm sure she's even getting death threats. You know how the internet is. That's never right. Death threats are never right, but people are still doing it. I'm not advocating for that, obviously, but I think a lot of people are just literally voicing criticism, like active criticism, because she doesn't get it. You know, she just doesn't get it. She would say in interviews, you're a person of multitudes. What happened doesn't define you. You define you. But at the end of the day, and I mean this with peace and love, it's true. You're not defined by your your experiences that you've gone through, but it does change you. And it's not something that's easy to be left in the past. Like, you have to work through it, and I think to work through it, you have to accept that that's something that happened to you, and that's something that changed you, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a better future, or you can't be greater in the future. It's something, what did I write down? What has happened to you combined with who you are now is more of what it is. And she would also say it's about the female experience with its highest highs and lowest lows. And it's like, okay, so are you saying that every woman is experiencing domestic violence? I'm not sure what, like, she's trying to push here. There were a few instances, and I'm just gonna talk about everything that she said about this, like, during this press tour. I'm sure that the timeline is like all over the place with the things I'm telling you, but just so you get the bigger picture of how she was behaving, and you can find this online.
Why is Deadpool Wolverine sold out? I'm sorry, I got distracted back there. I feel offended, but we're not out yet, that's fine. I'm happy about that. The Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to... Lily Bloom is, oh, look at me in flowers, Lily Bloom. It's neoprene. You just like go deep sea diving in it.
This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their lives. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you, and then we could, I'm just curious.
Just social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics? Are we talking emotionally?
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And these, they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
Talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes. He has some
Suits and
beautiful. That's what I'm
how
saying.
he
His wardrobe was beautiful.
Oh, I know.
Corey's
Everybody.
wardrobe was
I know.
gorgeous.
He's
Those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I wish men
And
wore
sorry,
high-waisted
too.
pants like
I
that
know.
still.
Me too.
Or their father with it.
Well, I'm not the type of actor who can act without producing, you know? Like, you can't just put me in any clothes and give me any words and have me step in and transform. And
She had an interview with a Nordic interviewer. I think she was Norwegian, might have been from somewhere else, but this was an unreleased interview. People were confused about this, like, why are people only talking about it now? It's because this interview was never released until last week. Is when the interviewer, she said she didn't know that all of this was going on. She just kind of felt like she had to release it. Like that Blake Lively was already getting shitted on. I didn't know. Allegedly, I think she did know, and she just like wanted to prove people right. It's an interview, and you've probably seen it, where the interviewer starts out saying, first of all, congrats on your little bump. And you're gonna be like, oh, she was fat shaming Blake Lively? Well, why the fuck would you tell someone congrats on being fat? No, Blake Lively was pregnant at the time, and she had just recently announced her pregnancy to the public, and she allegedly, alleged to the interviewer, she said that Blake Lively was very obviously pregnant. She was like, it was not a little bump, it was actually a big bump. She was like 7 months pregnant or something, or 6 months pregnant. Like, you could see that she was pregnant. And she had announced it to the public. It was like it was a secret. And so the interviewer, whose first language is not English, as I said, I think it was Norway, I'm sorry if it's not, said in a form of congratulating her on her pregnancy, congrats on your little bump. I didn't even think of this when I first heard it. I was like, yeah, congrats on your little bump. Like, if you talk about someone's pregnancy stomach, one should be like, oh, look at the little bump. I actually don't know anyone who's pregnant, but I would imagine so. Like, to me, it didn't seem like an odd thing to say. And Blake Lively took this wrong for some reason. She does not fuck with being pregnant. She goes to the interviewer, congrats on your little bump. The interviewer was not pregnant and can't have children. So she was fat shaming the interviewer. Obviously, she didn't know that the interviewer couldn't get pregnant. She just later revealed this to the interviewer, like, how would Blake Lively know this? But that must have hurt her even more, especially because she was just trying to be nice, you know? She was probably really nervous interviewing Blake Lively. There was another lady sitting next to her. Sorry, I don't know her name. They were doing an interview for Café Rose or something like that, which is a movie that takes place in the 1930s, and Woody Allen was involved. So, you know, we talked about that already, but it was a movie that took place in the 1930s. Said, congrats on your little bump, congrats on your little bump, and then the other lady next to her was like, congrats on my little bump, and like pointed at her ass and stuff and was trying to make it funny. And then the next thing was that the interviewer asked her about the fashion of the movie and was like, how was that for you with these costumes? How did it feel? What was it like? And Blake Lively goes, I wonder if you asked the men that question. And then the interviewer goes really quietly, I would. And I felt so bad for her. The reason she asked it is because you play a fucking 1930s movie, bitch. Like, you're actually wearing full-on costumes. Like, anyone would be curious about that. You're not just wearing your fucking fuck-ass Carhartt shirt, you know what I mean, that you wore in the fucking movie. Obviously, you don't know anything about fashion. You try to... Oh my god, I don't even care that much about Blake Lively, but it's just like that poor lady that sat there, you know. I was just trying to give her best for an interview, and Blake Lively's like, would you ask the men that? Was like trying to have her little feminist moment. It just didn't work, and now look where it got you. I have to calm down, but the interview proceeded with just Blake and the other lady, her co-star, talking to one another. They did not talk to the interviewer again. They were completely leaving her out. Again, you can find this on YouTube, the interview. And they were just talking to one another, completely ignoring her. This was a bad look, Blake. And there has yet to be a statement from Blake regarding this. Oh, and also the interviewer, as far as I'm concerned, she worked in something related to fashion. So the question, first of all, was warranted because you're actually wearing costumes, because it's a period piece. And also, the interviewer was involved in, I think it was a magazine, like some kind of fashion chief, something. So it just didn't work, Blakey boo boo. Got married on plantation. Anyway, that happened. And then my favorite thing that she has said is, of course, the florals that I am wearing today just for her, Blake Lively. There's a whole compilation again of her making odd statements during the movie tour. There's one interview where she's like, and my carrot that Lily bloom. Oh, bloom flowers. I'm wearing flowers. It's like, as if you not know that you're wearing flowers right now. She said, grab your friends, wear your florals, and go see the movie. Grab your friends, wear your florals, and go watch a movie where someone gets physically abused. Yoo! And then she said, you know what she said? It just feels like a big, beautiful summer movie. This big, beautiful summer movie about domestic violence. Wow! Obviously, she didn't say the domestic violence part, but both of these things, the wear your florals, that's where I made my TikTok about, guys. It was so funny. I thought it was so funny when I was thinking about it, like, how do I make a video about it? Because it's so ridiculous that she's sitting her ass down and saying, wear your florals to this fucking movie, right? Does anyone realize this is ridiculous? Wear your florals, grab your friends, and then I cut to me, like, in the end credits, and it's just a song where it's like, baby, you got something in your nose. Who has something in their nose? I'm not sure, but I thought it was funny. The Big Beautiful Summer Movie, she said on 2 different instances as far as I'm concerned. So it makes me think, like, is this something that she pre-planned to say? Is this something that maybe her PR team, which I'm not sure if she has one, or her media training dude told her, like, this is what we're gonna market it as, so you say that in multiple interviews, because she also goes with the multifaceted, strong and weak. She also says that multiple times, but I feel like she just does, because she's so hands-on, you know? She does everything herself. She dresses her own character. She's her own intimacy coordinator. They had intimacy coordinators, and she was like, I'm gonna do it myself. Sometimes, you know, you just gotta realize when your capacities are overflowing. Sometimes you just gotta stop. Hear the quiet? Sometimes you just gotta shut the fuck up, Blake Lively. Again, Big Beautiful Summer Movie about domestic violence, she said multiple times. In the same thing, she also said they had only a small budget, so she had to call in a lot of favors, which was regarding to the wardrobe, because she dressed her own character and got like Gigi Hadid's clothes, asked Taylor Swift if she could put My Tears Ricochet in the movie, asked Lana Del Rey if she could put Cherry in it, which didn't fit at all, and the budget was 25 million, which is average. And also, aren't you a fucking producer? Aren't you supposed to be the one getting the money in? I feel like you should be responsible for that. Who are we dissing with the small budget? It was an average budget. 25 million isn't that much for a movie. Like, it's a lot of money, obviously. I could only dream, but for a movie, it's normal. It's like in the middle. And then she promoted her hair care. Her hair is ugly is what I wrote down. And then the other thing is her saying she can't just act. This woman went also multiple occasions. I saw 2 different interviews where she said this. I'm not an actress that you can just put into any clothes, give any words, and then have her act. I always need to make it like fit onto me. She needs to play herself. She cannot act. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't just get words and can't just act? Isn't that what a fucking actor is? I was like, when I saw that, and people tried arguing, they were like, she means she's hands-on, as I just said. She needs to be involved. She needs to make decisions. Get off the screen, get behind the camera, and start fucking recording then. Sorry, if you can't act, then don't. You know what I mean? You proved it with this fucking movie, biting your lip every 3 seconds. You are not Bella Swan. You are not Bella Swan, and this is not a good movie. And also, the wig is ugly. I think she's wearing a wig in the movie, honestly. I haven't seen any speak about it, but I think it was a wig. Because she got asked by one interviewer about having, like, dyed hair. And then she didn't say it was a wig. But I think it was. I'm alleging it. That was... I don't know, which one was your favorite statement of hers? I'm not sure which one mine is. I do love the, her saying she can't just act. And I also love the big summer movie. Big, beautiful summer movie. And I love the wear your florals. That's so insane, honestly. And also, what else do we have? Some other things, of course, besides her ridiculous statements. She could have easily, by the way, come forward and been like, and just talk about the issue at hand, right? That the movie deals with, but she didn't. Eventually, after a while, after she had been receiving a lot of backlash, she did post an Instagram story where she posted like resources that you can reach out to if you are a victim or a survivor. No, a victim. You're not out of the situation yet. I know that there's really there's a distinction between the 2 words of domestic violence, and it was just an Instagram story that she posted, and that was it. But we still have Betty Boos and Betty Buzz in the Instagram bio. She also revealed, oh, I shouldn't be talking about this, with Cherry by Lana Del Rey. She put that in the movie. The scene that it played at was when it's revealed that her husband, who abuses her, had a what was it? A brother that he killed. Yeah. They just say the brother is dead in that scene, but Cherry is playing, and it's like, it's a very heavy, like a very loaded song. The beat also, and you're like just waiting for something bad to happen, and they're just talking in the scene. Doesn't work. Everyone was begging you to not use it. It didn't work, and you still used it anyway. Maybe don't direct. And then she also revealed that she shouldn't be talking about this, but her husband, Ryan Reynolds, rewrote a scene for the movie. She said everything she works on, her husband works on. Or no, everything she's in, her husband works on, and everything he's in, she works on. They're always in each other's shit. And I know that they used to be like a really beloved couple, like they're so funny, haha. But it's just like, leave her alone, or leave him alone. Why do you need to be involved in every part of each other's lives? That's so unhealthy, first of all. He is not involved in this movie any which way. He is not a producer, he's not a writer, he's not an actor, he's not doing anything for the movie. His wife is just in it. And he felt the need to rewrite the rooftop scene, which is at the very beginning of the movie. It's where the two main characters, Ryle and Lily, meet for the first time. It was such an awkward scene. I think all of the scenes were awkward, if I'm being honest. I think that there was never a good like chemistry between any of the characters. It was always a little awkward. In that scene, it's very vital because or very crucial because they meet for the first time and you're supposed to feel this attraction between them, but it just felt so out of place and it felt a little bit clunky, the dialogue. And Lily also just kept laughing at Ryle, and I was like, what's so funny? And nobody else got what's so funny in a theater either. So Ryan Reynolds, maybe don't write, you know? But the worst thing is that he allegedly rewrote the scene during the writer's strike. which is a big no-no because apparently you're not allowed to work on anything then during the writer's strike. And he was like, I'm just gonna rewrite it. And allegedly, the original writer did not find out until later that her scene was rewritten. She didn't know. No one told her. They just went with it. Allegedly. We don't know if this is actually true. Then it continues, guys. We're not done yet. Allegedly, also, there are 2 different cuts of the movie. One that's Blake's cut and one that is Justin's cut. And she allegedly commissioned the editor from Deadpool and Wolverine to edit the movie for her. And the question, of course, is which cut did we see in the cinema, if this is true? And people have now said they assume it's Blake's cut. Some people have said, oh, we saw an early screening and it was Blake's cut and it's exactly the same as in the cinema. Some people say, oh, she couldn't have, how did I say? They couldn't have put Taylor Swift's song in it without it being Blake's cut, and that's why Blake's cut got released. So she also allegedly sold her parts to Sony, who's a distributor, and get to decide which cut. What am I saying? Whose cut gets released? This is all alleged. I don't know anything about the behind the scenes, obviously. Intermission, because I forgot to talk about Colleen Hoover, and I also wait. Wrong side. Blake Lively seems to be having everyone on her side, including Colleen Hoover. She has said before that she is a huge fan of Blake's and she wanted her in that role. And so now they're still doing interviews and they're still doing interviews together, right? She has also not mentioned Justin. They don't follow each other on Instagram. But as I mentioned before, I do think that for Blake, in my personal opinion, it's mostly about the business. She sees this as an opportunity to market herself even further, and it just backfired. She talked too much, basically. That's what backfired. She should have just yapped a little less, and I know how that's hard for a yap girl myself. But Colleen Hoover, I don't know why people always put her on such a high horse. Fuck Colleen Hoover, guys. Honestly, I don't know how many more times I have to tell you. That lady, literally, in case you don't know, tried to sell a coloring book for It Ends With Us. A coloring book. For a book about domestic violence. People were like, okay, what are we gonna color in? Her bruises? Then she canceled that because she got too much backlash. You know what she did then? Nail polish. It starts with good nails. What's the slogan? The red color was called Brave Blush. None of those profits went to domestic violence victims or survivors or any kind of like charity organization geared towards that. So how you can sit there and tell me, Colleen, who are you? Get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Wake up. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. Now you know more. I just know that there were also 2 different posters. One that is now being used, and then one from Justin. And I think with Justin Baldoni's poster, if that is true, and if that was just not like an early like draft of a poster, if that's true, I think the vibe of these posters is completely different. Also, the Blake Lively poster only says Blake Lively on it. I don't think it says even Colleen Hoover anywhere. And also, I think Justin's looks like a lot more artsy. I think is the right word for it. It looks a lot more artistic, a lot more like deeper. Because there's just not that many colors on it. I'll put it up on screen. Now, of course, we're at the end of this whole drama because no one has said anything besides one person. We don't know what the truth is because this person also didn't tell us what's going on. Either this is a PR stunt, maybe there was something behind the scenes. Honestly, if there was, I think it was just the creative differences that Blake and Ryan tried to do too much with the movie, and maybe Justin kind of felt like they were taking it away from him. He wanted to do it differently, and then because they have more influence and everyone loves Blake and Ryan, they got everyone on their side, got Colleen Hoover on their side, and then they eventually got like the last say in it, even though Justin should, and he's pissed off because of that. We don't know. He did say that for the second movie, he was asked like, what's with the second movie? He said, oh, I think there's better people for that. I think Blake Lively is ready to direct. As we know, he owns the rights to that, so That's like the biggest hint that we have that they had a falling out behind the scenes. He does follow her on Instagram, she doesn't follow him. I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. You guys have to tell me what you think, what happened, if anything even happened, or if this is all just like us making a elephant out of a fly. I'm not sure. I truly believe that they had creative differences and that Blake was pushing it too much. That's also just the vibe I got from her, that she just really wanted like a cutesy little movie. People have been saying maybe she wanted a like an Oppenheimer Barbie situation with Deadpool and Wolverine and It Ends With Us, but those are both so insignificant. Peace and love, like who cares about Deadpool and Wolverine? I'm sorry, nobody cares about them anymore. Your time is over. It used to be Slay, I can say that confidently, but no one cares about it anymore. But the thing is, that happened organically. Oppenheimer and Barbenheimer, that was an organic thing that happened, especially because it was released on the same day. I don't know if Deadpool and Wolverine and It Ends With Us were released on the same day, but I don't care. There's like one interview where she's like, oh, Deadpool and Wolverine is sold out. Oh, sorry, I got distracted. You're like a fucking toddler. You're acting like a toddler. People are not vibing with your vibe anymore. But I don't know. I don't know, guys. People were like, oh, because she's pushing the whole floral thing. Like, wear your florals. I'm wearing my florals. And I grabbed a friend and nobody watched my TikTok. I'm still salty over it. I really liked my idea. Because it was marketed as a rom-com and so many people were like, I went in it. I didn't know it was going to be so heavy with like domestic violence in it. Well, that's what you get for marketing it that way. However, the fuck-ass dude, Brendan Scadildi, I don't know his name, the actor, came out. He plays Atlas to make a statement. He's, as of today, the 21st of August, the only person to make a statement on this situation. No one else has spoken up. I'm so far away, by the way. Oh, do you love my pattern blocking? I'll show you. I look like Lily Bloom. She would wear this, my flower top, and then my leopard print pants. Deadass. No, if it was camouflage, if the pants were camouflage, she would wear it in the movie. Terrible, terrible costumes. Anyway, the Atlas dude came out to, who I don't know what he played. I think he played on Westworld, which is like a whatever show, I don't care. He made a statement, and this is like around a week and a half after release. It was just last night. And he was just saying, bitches are hating, bitches should not be hating. I'm bitches. He was addressing it to, honestly, Sophie. No, but he just said everyone worked so hard on this movie and it's unjust to hate on the people who really wanted to get the message across and were doing their hardest to be true to the story or whatever. It's a long statement. I can put it up if you want to read it. It's on his Instagram. Comments are turned off. People went under the last post, comments were turned on, and were like, you're so tone deaf with the statement. You're trying to do something and you're not getting there because what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? He's not even addressing Justin Baldoni in that statement. He's not even saying like, stop hating on Justin Baldoni, because there was some hate on him. I forgot to say, but I will mention it in a second. He's just coming out saying, don't hate on the women that worked so hard on this movie. They don't deserve it. Everybody's so happy. And we love everyone. It's not even like that people are outright hating, I would say. A lot of people are also just telling you that you are insanely tone deaf and insanely like delusional with the way you're marketing this movie and actually criticizing you. And he's just marketing it off, or not marketing, marking it off as hate. Which is, I think a lot of celebrities often do that, where they're like getting criticism, they're like, you're just hating on me. No. Also, he does mention in that statement like that he has a friend who went through domestic abuse. He never mentioned that friend anywhere else. He just mentioned it in the statement. It would have been a good opportunity to mention that in interviews, saying, I know people in my life that have experienced this, and so I hope that this movie gives them hope, or something like that. He never did that. So who knows, allegedly, if that friend even exists. I don't want to speak it off him that he's lying, but maybe they exist, maybe they don't. What I forgot to mention is that maybe someone's PR team tried coming for Justin because there was some speculation about him, and not speculation, but like some intel dropped on him about him. You're gonna say, what? I'll tell you. There was an article released and it said, Justin Baldoni fat shamed Blake Lively and kissed her for too long. First of all, if I fat shame someone, why would I want to kiss them? Love, hate? What are we doing? Doesn't fit together. Also, they elaborated on the fat shaming and said she had just given birth while they were filming It Ends With Us. Like, I don't know how long before she had given birth, but she allegedly still felt uncomfortable with her postpartum body. And there's a scene where Justin Baldoni has to lift her up. And so he went to their personal trainer on set, someone on set, and asked, how much does Blake Lively weigh? And what is the best way I can protect my back from the weight? Because I have a bad back and I have issues with my back. And I want to lift her safely. And that's him fat shaming her. That's him fat shaming her, asking how he can protect himself while executing the scene that they're supposed to both be in. And then he kissed her for too long. Perf. Guys, you have to let me know, with all of this information, I talked so much, what you actually think has happened or is going on behind the scenes. Obviously, nobody knows. I don't think any of them is going to make a definite statement. Everyone's going to pretend like everything is fine. I blame it on the creative differences they probably had, and I also just genuinely feel bad for Justin if this is all true, because Blake Lively just, I don't know what she was thinking with the whole marketing thing. It just went so south. I don't know who told her that. If she decided on her own, her being so hands-on, I just assume that she decides everything her own. You know? I don't think she has a team for anything, if I'm being honest. So let me know what you think, and I think now it's time to get into the movie review. It Ends With Us movie was definitely an experience. I watched it in theaters on release day. The theater was almost booked out, and I sat next to two girly pops. One of them, I think, had read the book, one of them had not. I'll tell you my highlights of their comments throughout the movie, because they wouldn't shut the fuck up at the end of the video. When we get through the review. So, I will not recap the entire book for you. I don't know if you read the book or not, obviously. I assume some people have. So I'll just give you like the basic plot point rundowns. Also, I'm not a diehard fan of the book. I gave it 1 star. And so, I don't know anything. I want to say I don't know everything, but I don't know anything. I don't know everything in detail that happened in the book. I would say, in general, the movie did a good job of translating the book onto screen. Obviously, there's always going to be things that have to be left out or slightly changed, but I think that they just very much condensed the book. They didn't necessarily leave many things out. No. They didn't necessarily add many things that weren't in the book, but more so left other things out that just didn't fit into the movie. People are always going to complain about this. That's just what it is. If you want it to be 100% accurate, you need it to be a show. But even then, they will change things around, and this wouldn't have performed good as a show. It makes sense that this is a movie, right? I think Colleen Hoover's books don't make sense as a show. The movie starts out with Lily Blossom Bloom, who is the main character. Who is Blake? Who's Blake? Yeah, it's just Blake Lively. Blake Lively, after her dad's funeral, she runs away because she is supposed to give a speech at her dad's funeral, and she can't. She can't even say 5 things that she liked about him because he used to abuse her mother. And, you know, she never got over that. She was like, fuck this man. Rightfully so. And she still works herself up over the fact that she just ran out of the funeral speech, and she ends up on a rooftop in somewhere. Boston, I don't know. A random rooftop of a random building. There is no explanation of how her ass got up there, what she's looking for, who she's looking for. She just wants to get her mind off things. Bral comes onto the rooftop in scrubs, smoking. I think he is smoking a cigarette in the movie. He is smoking a joint in the book. Can I just say something? Like, if I were a neurosurgeon, that would even be less reason for me to smoke. Like, even if it's a joint, like, just eat an edible. I mean, like, you're really doing that to your lungs? As a doctor? They exchange pleasantries, they talk about why they're both there, and they almost make out. Again, this is the scene that Ryan Reynolds allegedly rewrote. It felt a little bit out of place. In that scene, Lily, also Blake Lively, I mean, got onto my fucking nerves with her fuck-ass acting. My god, I can't speak. I feel like I just don't buy it. I just don't buy her as a character. For me, it's just Blake Lively in front of me. She acts the same way she acts in her interviews. You know what I mean? They almost make out, or they do make out, but they almost fuck, but then he gets a call and he has to leave, and they're like, okay, we're never gonna see each other again. We get the first flashback to her past, which in the book, it's through journal entries. Those journal entries are dedicated to Ellen DeGeneres. I don't want to relive this right now, but I'll do it for you guys. And in the movie, I don't even know why we get the flashback. I think we always get a flashback when she is writing in her, or she's drawing in her sketchbook. Because she wants to open her flower shop, and so she's sketching out like a scrapbook, how she wants it to look. And every time she does that, we get a flashback to her past. And then in the past, we see her writing to Ellen DeGeneres. And it starts as Dear Ellen, but there's not much emphasis on it. And it's basically just to show us, like, how did she meet Atlas? Who is Atlas? Her dad abused her mother, so we know about all of that. They do watch Ellen DeGeneres together, but she's never outright mentioned, right? Probably couldn't get the rights for it because of the small budget. But, yeah. Not a part that I necessarily missed. You know, Ellen DeGeneres. Still confused on why she chose Ellen DeGeneres. I also think that the dude who plays Atlas does not look like a high schooler. A lot of people have given praise to the casting for finding someone that looks exactly like Blake Lively for a young Blake Lively. She said at one point, I play young Blake Lively. No, you play young Lily, not Blake Lively, but she says it herself, so it is Blake Lively on the screen, and nothing else. She plays Blake Lively. She even has her mold, I think it's called, in the exact same place as Blake Lively. Doesn't mean she can act. Isabella Ferreira, I think is her name. Not a good job. Alas, doesn't matter. Again, the entirety of the movie is pretty close to the book. There is nothing notable about the scenes besides the wardrobe that is truly terrible. And when people tell you it looks ugly, it looks ugly. There's never a good outfit on Blake Lively, and she prides herself in dressing the character herself. And she was like, what did she say? I had to pull pieces from Gigi Hadid, and I just did my own styling. It just looks like Shake It Up. Shake It Up characters. You remember Shake It Up? And at the time I thought that was slay, but we're over it. It's terrible. She looked terrible. She opens her flower shop. In the movie it's never explained on how she's able to do this or what her job was before, because she quit her job and then she got money from her dead dad, inheritance, and then she was able to open up the flower shop. We don't get this in the movie. We don't get this explained. There's very little, like, character building, in my opinion. We don't really get any other side characters besides Ryle. We have Ryle, Lily, Atlas, the three. And then Ryle's sister, Alyssa, and her husband. And then the mom sometimes comes in, but we don't really care about the mom. Those are the side characters that matter. In the book, there were way more. In the book, she also met Ryle's parents, for example. This is not in the movie. And so I think the cast felt really small. And for me, it therefore also felt like it was underdeveloped, the characters, besides maybe Ryle. You know? Which, I wonder why that is. But alas. She opens up her flower shop. Alyssa is Ryle's sister. She starts working there. It's not explained why, because she appears to be rich but still be working there. And in the book, I think they're saying that she's just like bored or something. We don't know. Like, apparently her husband is ridiculously rich, but she wants to work in a random flower shop. I also think that her outfits were very ugly. I imagine Blake Lively dressed her also. Jenny Slate, I think, is the actress's name. Terrible outfits. Terrible. Terrible. I genuinely, like, I don't know where they got the idea from. And we, for example, at one point get the statement like, from Alyssa, the sister, "You are my best friend." And at that point I was like, why? Because we don't see them doing anything. They're just in the flower shop. We don't see them hanging out. There is no explicit character building for any of them. I feel like it focused on the wrong aspects, right? Maybe you could have also made it a bit longer, the movie. I don't exactly know what you could have cut out to make it fit better. Ugh, I don't know. I can't tell you, but I just feel like there was so much depth lacking from it. I felt like all of their scenes were really awkward, with Alyssa and Lily in it, so the two besties. I think all of the scenes were awkward all the time, actually. That's just my opinion, that the scenes were awkward, but I just, even with Ryle, even with Atlas, it just always felt a little bit uncomfortable watching them. I feel like there was always some kind of tension and not good tension. Colleen Hoover does make an appearance. She makes a cameo. Alyssa is throwing a birthday party, and Colleen Hoover is in the back. And she's just like, you get a head-on shot of her like taking a swig of her fucking wine or whatever, and then while they're talking the characters, she's in the background like, she's just happy to be there. She doesn't seem to have much of a backbone to defend anything, any integrity of her book, but, you know, I don't want to be mean. I think it's too late to say that at this point. At this point, Ryle and Lily have met up again because Alyssa is his sister, and so obviously he's also at the birthday party. Lily Blossom Bloom Blake Lively arrives in her most horrendous outfit in the entire movie though, but the most horrendous hairdo. The wig is completely like curled, and there's, I don't know if you can see it anywhere, there's like 2 pieces of hair at the back just like hanging out. Like, I'll put a picture up if I can find it, but if I can't find it, it's just like an updo. Like, she has so much volume in her hair because it's curled like this, it's all up, and then there's just 2 really long strands hanging out. They are also curled, but they're arguably not on the same length, and it looks ridiculous. The entire outfit is ridiculous. She arrives with a party dress, and she has her fuck-ass camouflage Carhartt jacket over it. Oh my god, it's so ugly. After they make out, they don't fuck, so she stays over and sleeps over in his bed and keeps on fishnets under her pants. She's wearing fishnets with her dress, and after she's like, "Hey Ryle, never mind, I don't want to fuck you." He's like, "Okay, you can sleep over." She's like, "Do you have a pajama?" He's like, "Yeah." Puts the pants on her, but she keeps the fishnets on. Okay. After this, Alyssa meets them together and is like, "Oh my god, I'm warning you, Ryle is like a serial dater. He does not like relationships. You like proceed on your own, I don't know how you say, be cautious." And we get like a compilation of them hanging out and having fun at the club, making out, getting together, kind of speed dialing their relationship to a point where they are together. Lily Blossom Bloom Blake Lively does wear Louboutins at the club, which is obviously like, there's a full shot just of the Louboutins. They're ugly Louboutins, and also, why the fuck would Lily wear Louboutins? Why the fuck would this character wear any of this shit, honestly? But where would she be getting the money from to buy these expensive ass shoes? It makes no sense. And this is just like further proof for people that Blake Lively did not understand the character. That she did not want to do it like it was in the book. She wanted to do her own thing. She wanted to change it to fit herself. And she wears Louboutins in the club. But it's not working. Anyway, another flashback shows Atlas baking cookies without a baking sheet. I don't know. I know there's like anti-stick spray that you can use for panels. Don't know the terms in English. So you can just put the dough directly on the thing, on the metal. I have baking sheets. What the fuck do you mean? I'm just putting it directly onto the metal. We're not doing that. Oh, I'm scared. And he's not shown to be using that anti-stick spray. So are the cookies coming off of the baking sheet either, or are they just sticking to it? Like, what are we doing? She won't stop wearing cameo. She even wears a cameo onesie. I don't think it's ever explained in the movie why they wear onesies. It's just them hanging out, right? For most of the movie. But this is where Cherry plays by Lana Del Rey, and you're just kind of waiting for something bad to happen because it's just a loaded song. And it starts out with her like in the flower shop working, and then them later hanging out at a bar wearing onesies. I don't remember why they do it. It's because of some hockey or football team. And she's also wearing a onesie, and she's wearing a camouflage one. She's been wearing so much camouflage the entire movie. I just, you know, Lily is just, that did not strike anyone as the type of character to be like a little bit crunchy, okay, a crunchy character, but not to be like a camouflage kind of character, kind of bitch with Louboutins on. She's probably wearing the Louboutins and the onesie. And that's where you find out that they had a brother, but that brother is dead, because we don't get to know why. But Ryle had been withholding this information from her, and it's supposed to be like, oh my god, he isn't telling her that he had a brother? Oh, scary. But it's like, everything about the scene just kind of felt off. Also, another thing that I want to quickly mention is the Atlas's actor, I don't think he can act very well. I think I say it multiple times. His face when he's acting is completely flat. He has the same facial expression the entire movie, and he doesn't really give much cadence to what he's saying either. Like, I don't think he's doing any part of the acting. He's just reading shit out, and people have said that they think he might be on Ryan's and Blake's side and defending them now in his Instagram post, because they are like pushing him towards bigger things. Like, they are letting their connections play allegedly to maybe get him bigger roles, because he is like speaking out for them and like siding with them. Obviously, we will not know the truth ever, probably, except if I can get into their circle and figure it out myself. Like, I'll have to take care of it, guys, don't worry about it. But there's just something I wanted to mention. And also something I wanted to mention regarding this is they aged the characters up from the books. In the books, they're mid-20s. I think Riley's end of his 20s. But they're not in their 30s, at least, right? They aged them up with the explanation that a neurosurgeon couldn't be in his 20s. Okay. Sure. But I think they aged him up too much, if I'm being honest. Blake Lively is 36. I don't know what her official age in the book is supposed to, or in a movie, I mean, is supposed to be. I imagine, I don't remember. Let me Google how old Lily is in the books. Sorry, little intermission. Lily Bloom age. 23. We're the same age! Yoo-hoo, we're the same age! Well, not actually, because in the movie she's older. I imagine she's like 10 years older. I imagine she's like 33 in the movie. Because that would just be easy to age her up like 10 years, you know? I just don't think, I mean this with peace and love, that the whole backstory of Atlas works that way. Because there's a difference between a 23-year-old pining after her high school sweetheart that she hasn't seen in a while, and a 33-year-old woman pining after her high school sweetheart. I'm not saying that like high school sweethearts cannot be reunited at any age, but she has such a strong connection to Atlas in the books, and I think that also stems from the fact that it's not that long ago that they separated, and not that much time has passed that could shape them into the people that they now are, because we don't get an explanation for the time that has passed in between what they were doing. Were they just doing the same things that they were doing in the books but for longer? Because he went to the army after high school, but like for 8 years is what he says. And then he opened his restaurant or something, but what was Lily doing? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but I just feel like they were too old. I just didn't buy it that she would run back to his ass and they hadn't seen each other in like 15 years at that point. Because I think in the book, oh my god, it does say in the book how old she is. Right? I thought it did when she was in high school. I think she was she was 15. She was 15 and Atlas was 18. Of course, we don't talk about that either. in the books when they met in high school. But that's why I just didn't really buy it. You know, I was like, okay, it's a little bit dramatic to me. I don't know, I just don't fuck with everything about this story. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. If I'm disrespectful, sorry. Oh yeah, in the book, he tells her in private about the brother dying, and not in the club or in the bar. He tells her in private after he finds Atlas's number in her phone case, because if you're wondering, I have to explain because I keep forgetting not everyone has read the book, but you can watch my review. Atlas and Lily, you met in high school. He was homeless. She lost her virginity to him. After her dad found out, he beat him almost to death. And then they never saw each other again because he went off to the army and she moved on to bigger things, which is, you know, wearing Louboutins and camouflage onesies in the club. And then they reunite in Boston, which they had talked about before when they were younger, like everything's better in Boston, because he's a cook that doesn't use baking sheets. And he opened his own restaurant in Boston, and they coincidentally go to eat there, and that's when they reunite, and they're like, oh my god, like, so happy to meet you again. And they go there again after the first incident of Ryle actually punching Lily in the face and her having a black eye. And he connects the dots and he's like, he's mistreating you, he's abusing you, you have to leave him. And then they start fighting in the restaurant, him and Ryle, and they start beating each other up. So that's that. That's Atlas. And he's like, you have to leave him, blah, blah, blah. Later he comes to the flower shop, he apologizes for making a scene and gives her his number. And she puts it in the back of her phone, like in the back of her phone case. And Ryle finds this number by dropping her phone and the case flying off, and then he like breaks something and she's like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, I found the fucking number, like what the fuck is going on with you? I called the number, I know who, right? And then he pushes her down the stairs. But in private, that's how it happens that she finds out that his brother is dead. That's what I was getting to, like, she doesn't get to know this because Cherry is playing in the pub, but because they were fighting. I think she tells him after, or he tells her after the fight. Again, I'm not a diehard fan of the book, but it was in private, so there are some things that they changed around. Again, I think that they kind of tried to make it more black and white in the movie, that Ryle was this terrible person and Lily was the greatest person of all time. She was the GOAT for leaving him. When it very much was like, honestly, like, I mean this with Peace and Love, it was very much like Atlas's influence that eventually helped her leave. And that's just not realistic for a lot of people, that they have a homeless person from high school that they used to fuck that's gonna come back in their life and get them out of their abusive situationship. Like, that's just not how life goes. The reason she eventually leaves him, so he punches her in the face, he pushes her downstairs, which leaves her with an open wound that he has to sew up. In the books, also, after she gets pushed down the stairs, she's like, leave. Like, I know you pushed me. And he's like, no, you fell. No, you pushed me. Like, she keeps reiterating, leave my fucking apartment. Anyway, in the movie, he almost SAs her. And then you kind of see the throwbacks to those two scenes, because there were more scenes in the book of abuse. Obviously, they can't include everything in a movie. And it was cut in a way in the movie where you would be like, okay, maybe it was an accident, which I think was pretty clever. Yeah, I can admit it. I think it was well done, because the way that both scenes were cut, the punch and the pushing, was very rushed and very shaky, and like you didn't really know what was going on, and it was cut off in the right moment. So it looked like, because Ryle was grabbing a hot thing out of the oven, he accidentally like flays with his hand and hits Lily. And with the pushing down the stairs, it looks like she accidentally tripped down the stairs and not him pushing her. But again, he almost SAs her. He bites her in her collarbone where she has a tattoo dedicated to Atlas, because he finds out that the tattoo is there because of a article in a magazine about Atlas's restaurant, and he gets so jealous and like blind with rage, and we get to see the scenes again where he abused her originally, and we realize as the viewer that those were intentional. Like, we see the continuation of the scene where it's supposed to be like Lily realizing, oh, it wasn't an accident, I'm misremembering, where he actively like turns to her after touching the hot oven thing, and actively turns to her and punches her in the face, and the other one, he actively grabs her and pushes her down the stairs. And that is her realizing, oh, actually, it wasn't an accident. Whereas, as I remember it in the book, she was realizing it in the moment already, but she just didn't leave him because she loved him too much, right? Which is oftentimes what the issue is. You love the person too much to be able to say, oh, I'm just gonna leave. So I think it was well done for a movie. Like, I think it made sense to cut it that way. Atlas then takes her to the hospital. In the hospital, she finds out, because of the bite mark, right? She goes to Atlas and she's like, please take me home. And also, he had friends in the book. Those are non-existent. I also think Lily had a gay friend, also non-existent. No one's existent. Everyone is vanished. Takes her to the hospital. She finds out in the hospital with Atlas there that she is pregnant. Not sure if she consented to that being tested or not. It seemed like from the conversation, from the dialogue, that she did not. And you can't just test people if they are pregnant. They have to consent to that. Anyway, who cares? The doctor that's there also doesn't use gloves when she's touching her bite wound. The other doctor smokes. This one doesn't use gloves. We don't care. Anyway, after this incident, she leaves Ryle for good, and they don't see each other until she's like 6 months pregnant. As I mentioned earlier, that's not how it goes in the book. It's made to seem like she just completely left him and she's not picking up her phone, and she's like fully pregnant with a little bump. Congrats on your little bump. And not contacting him, and then he makes his way over and helps her build like a crib at one point. And I think in that scene he also asked her to take him back, and she's like, I can't. Sorry. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? In the book he was more persistent, but they did live together and they had like a very relatively harmonic coexistence while she was pregnant. They were together in the same apartment, but they did not have anything physical, like any physical relationship, like kissing or doing the other thing, you know? Also, like, Lively didn't show boob. I'm just remembering, like, there were hinted at sex scenes. Obviously, in the book, they're left out. The book sex scenes are left out. We get it hinted at that they're doing it. Always fully clothed, like, relatively tame for the book, right? Anyway, I wrote down, Atlas can't act and gave me cowboy vibes. So, basically, it wasn't like the book. The end wasn't like the book at all. I think the end was better in the book because, again, it showed that Ryle was actually a likable character. But maybe they were too afraid that it would seem like they were excusing his behavior, but that, like, two things can be true at once. He can be a charismatic person that does good things, but also be an abuser. You know, that's usually what abusers are like. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, at the end of the book, we get the birth of the child. It's also different from in the book. Doesn't matter. Like, he's at work and he comes into the birthing room. I don't know what it's called. I've never had a baby. He comes into the birthing room and she births the baby. They name it after his dead brother that he actually killed, by the way, accidentally with a gun, because America. And then she's like, bitch, you know what? I want a divorce. And he's like, no. And she's like, you know what? Imagine this fuck-ass child of ours, who's a daughter, by the way, if she grew up and her boyfriend punched her in the face and she was like, what am I supposed to do, daddy boo? And you tell her, stay. No. She's like, what would you say to her? In the book, she's crying her eyes out, and so is he while this conversation is happening. In the movie, she's just laughing through it. She's like, what would you do? What would you tell her? Didn't really, it felt out of place. Again, I think this was one of those, if everything is to be believed, one of those instances where they wanted to make it more like a women empowerment kind of situation, and that it's so easy to leave him now because she had this daughter and she is ending it with them, the generational abuse. Like, just right in this moment it's ending. But just because you're divorcing him doesn't mean that your daughter is not gonna be a victim later on. Again, this is critique of the book. We've heard it before. They leave out the entire Dory Finding Nemo plotline. Sorry, I'm yapping for so long. I'm trying to speed it up. And they do have a Finding Nemo poster in the restaurant and a Finding Nemo plushie in the... What's the baby's room called? What's the baby's room called? There's a term for it. In the... whatever. Nursery! Thank you for helping. In the nursery. So they do make hints to it, but I think they just didn't have the IP or like the rights to use that in their movie, and they didn't have the budget to buy it. The book ends by her and her mom visiting her dad's gravestone. That's not in the book, by the way. And she tells her mom, I'll be back soon. And then she walks 2 meters away, like from where the mom is standing to the gravestone, yaps about something, and then they leave. I don't know, I'm not sure why they decided to include this. No one was thinking about the dad. It's like, no, the mom could also end the cycle or something. I'm not sure. And then she meets Atlas at the farmer's market at the end with the baby, and it's a happily ever after. And they're kind of leaving it open, obviously, for the second book. The second movie is what I meant. I talked for so long. Look at me, like I'm crouching in my chair. I'm gonna tell you the highlights of what the ladies, the girly pops next to me said. One of them said, "What's wrong with him?" I'm not sure. Another one said, the same one, "What the fuck is she wearing?" On multiple occasions. Even they noticed. Oh my god, the wedding outfit. You couldn't see it in full, you could only see the top part. If I can't find a picture, I'll put it up. She's wearing a diamond choker, like, connected to the dress. Ugly. And then he also said, "I hate the doctor dude." And that's the end. She hates the doctor dude. Feminism wins. Guys, my mount, oh my god. I'm reading a book currently, and that author, I'm not going to tell you what book it is, it's a surprise, but the author used, as a description of her coochie, she said, "my wet mound." I've never heard that before. Probably neither has the author because their first language isn't English. Ooh, hint. The camera is dying. I'm gonna wrap this up really quickly. Make sure to check out my reviews. I'll link them down below, the Colleen Hoover reviews. I hope you enjoyed this video regardless. Let me know what you think about the drama, the movie, the book, everything. I love you so much. I have to pack my bags. I'm off to Greece. This is my final goodbye until I'm back. I hope everyone's happy. Thank you to my members. The camera's dying. Stay happy. The camera died, but I am back. As you can see, I already started packing because I am leaving in 4 hours. I'm so excited to be going to the beach. I don't even know if anyone is still watching, but I will be posting on my Instagram at honestlysophieYT. If you want to see that, I'll be taking some books. I'll be taking some cute book pictures, I hope. And I will be uploading my next video when I'm back. I wanted to pre-film more and pre-produce more, but I just didn't have the time, if I'm being honest. Like, I had some ideas, and I'm reading a secret book at the moment. And I'm going to be reading more books on vacation. But you're going to get, like, 2 reviews back to back when I'm back. Okay? I hope you can, you don't miss me too much. Gonna miss me when I'm gone. Love you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you to my members. Again, let's repeat it. I hope you stay happy, you stay healthy, peace and love, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.